I think we should just kill him.
No. Hold on. We don't want any martyrs here.
The Far Cry series is one of my favorites of all time. I've played every game from Far Cry 3, I know, all the way to New Dawn. One thing I've noticed with the Far Cry games is that they all share a common trait of having one spin-off game per title. Far Cry 3 had Blood Dragon, Far Cry 4 had Primal, and now Far Cry 5 has New Dawn.
When you've got nothing, we'll come for you.
Don't drop it.
The only currency in this world is power.
One reoccurring issue though is that each spin-off had so much potential but kinda fell short. Well, except for Blood Dragon of course, but I already did a video on Primal, which you should definitely check out. Now I want to do one on New Dawn. An exceptional game on so many levels, but also not quite. After about 15 or so hours with the game, here's my honest opinion on Far Cry New Dawn.
I know what you're thinking. She's got the body of a 30-year-old, but a face like a scrotum that got left out in the sun.
New Dawn takes place after one of the endings of Far Cry 5, which of course you already knew. Basically, a catastrophic event has caused the apocalypse, and now, playing a different character than you did in 5, it's your job to compete against the highwaymen for resources, especially ethanol. You capture outposts, take the ethanol, scavenge the outpost, return them, capture them again with newer, harder enemies. Compared to Far Cry 5, there's really not a lot to do, and the main story only takes about 10 to 15 hours to complete. But it is a spin-off after all. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I love the game. It's a lot of fun and I love the direction that Ubisoft has taken the series. But I'm also disappointed in it. I know it's a spin-off title, but I just wish Ubisoft would make a full-fledged spin-off rather than a game with a half-assed story and a map full of side quests. They did the same thing with Primal. And both Primal and New Dawn are some of the best games I've played that missed their true potential. Again, I'm not going to talk about Primal, but as far as New Dawn goes, this could have been one of the best games in the series. The RPG elements are fantastic, though I know some people probably didn't enjoy them so much, but I really did. I love the different tier enemies and weapons, and I love the crafting system. Well, not the one in the game, but I like the idea of it, and here's one part of the game where I think it fell short. What it boils down to, and where the problem mostly lies, is that this is a title that Ubisoft pushed out to fill the gap between games and keep up the flow of money. Had it been a full-fledged game, the crafting system and weapon and enemy tiers could have been a lot more satisfying. Rather than weapons of different tiers, there should have been modifiable weapons where you could make the gun stronger by adding attachments, kinda like in Far Cry 5. The current system works in the game as it stands, but it just doesn't feel satisfying. I think it also has to do with Far Cry's loot system. Scavenging for parts seems pretty basic, and so does crafting. You get a variety of, I think, maybe 10 different resources, and you collect them in bulk. Eventually, you have enough of a variety of 3 different crafting components, and you can piece them together to create your weapon or vehicle or upgrade. Why not put the time in to go all out and add somewhat more likely components like screws and wood and different kinds of metals such as iron and steel, and even glass. The game does require a bit of work and exploration to finally gather enough components, but no matter how much exploration it takes, it truly never feels rewarding, and of course there's the grind, which was basically a nonsense intentional method used to lead players towards microtransactions, which I'd rather grind, thank you very much. On the other hand, one of my favorite things about the game is, I've got to say, the asset designs. The asset designs for this game are pretty damn cool. Possibly some of the coolest designs I've seen in any post-apocalyptic game. Weapon attachments include paint cans for silencers, screwdrivers for bayonets, belt buckles for grip, copper tubing, flashlights, and what I'm assuming is a pill bottle lid, or some kind of lid for the end of your scope. And some of the vehicles in this game are absolute beasts. Also, the clothing options are pretty damn slick. Definitely the design of the game is one of the greatest things about it. I don't think I've seen such a badass post-apocalypse since Borderlands. But here's the thing, while the models in the game make you look cool and just look cool in general, they're essentially pointless. They're just aesthetics, and really there's just not enough to do and not enough to accomplish for all of it to have any real purpose, other than the weapons of course. There was a lot of potential here to include attributed clothing, and had they made this a full-length game, they could have added things like armor and accessories. Something other than perks that makes your character attributes better. I know the purpose was to introduce light RPG mechanics, but I'm hoping to see a second New Dawn or even another spin-off that includes character attributes. After all, there's always been light RPG elements. I'd like to see something like in Fallout or other RPGs where you can increase things like perception, endurance, strength, and so on. To me, this is one thing that could have made New Dawn really succeed. The weapon tiers are fine and all, but the lack of customization really bothered me. I heard YouTubers and reviews claiming that New Dawn was going to be a tougher experience and that you would have to work on upgrading this and that to beat the tougher enemies, but honestly, within the first few hours, I had access to the higher tier weapons and the ability to take down the tougher enemies. Clearing outposts was hardly a sweat, at least until of course the last level, which I was really looking forward to grinding, and the euphoria of accomplishment when you finally get that badass golden tiered gun that you need to take on the boss. Borderlands. Now, this doesn't mean I want them to make the main Far Cry titles more RPG focused. While I think that would be fantastic, I know there are fans out there that don't want that. However, another post-apocalyptic Far Cry title would be awesome. Enough about that though, let's look at the other issues with Far Cry New Dawn. Exploration. It's bad enough the main story is so short, but I was also disappointed to find that a lot of buildings and areas from Far Cry 5 were boarded up and unexplorable. Basically, there's a few here and there, but mostly you'll find towns and areas filled with train cars and cargo containers, which basically serve as interiors for you to explore. Honestly, it's a matter of having nothing but repeatable outposts and expeditions. It wore me out pretty quickly, and overall, I was pretty bummed about the whole experience. While I knew going in not to expect much, I still expected more than what we got. Even Primal seemed to get more focus and attention to detail. In Far Cry 5, I was intrigued and tempted to explore every place I came across, go fishing, hunting, explore bunkers, and more. Well, while I was also intrigued to do the same in New Dawn, unfortunately, my desires fell mostly unsatisfied. There were also things I did and didn't like about the perk and companion system. I like the fact that there were basic skills to unlock, like crouch speed, dexterity, and takedowns. I feel like in RPGs, you should start bare bone, and I also like the ability to stack skills, but not when it came to the perk that allowed you to carry more ammo. Especially considering the RPG approach, I feel like this is where attributed clothing could have and should have come into play. For example, the lighter the clothes, the faster and quieter you move, which is essential for stealth. Bulky heavy armor to provide you with higher defense, and you could obtain ammo pouches for carrying more ammo, rather than a skill that allows you to do so. The things I didn't like about the skill tree, well, mostly the rest of it. Like, how about the skill for unlocking your fishing pole, and the one for your binoculars, and decreased heating on mounted guns? Those skills kind of felt cheap, but it is what it is. Companions leveled up by killing enemies, which was actually a good idea. But with the third and final ranking only being 45 enemies, I don't know, maybe I'm being too picky. Post-apocalyptic shooters are basically my favorite genre, considering there are too few steampunk games, and I guess I was just really excited to see another one of my favorite titles get a post-apocalyptic spin-off. I was also glad to see it was looking a lot like Far Cry meets Borderlands, but unfortunately it ended up being a very generic shooter with extremely light RPG elements. While I know it's unlikely, I hope Ubisoft makes a full RPG spin-off of the Far Cry series, kinda like they did with Skull and Bones. I just don't understand why, if this was a test to see how a Far Cry RPG fares, why not go all out and give it an honest chance? Unfortunately, not many people saw the potential in New Dawn, with its main campaign being under 15 hours and the map containing few side activities. On top of that, the RPG elements introduced were minimal at best and offered little more than Far Cry 5 already did. But who knows, with each main title release comes a spin-off. And as I mentioned, Skull and Bones is happening. Perhaps they will develop an FPS RPG as well. Hopefully, post-apocalyptic. But anyways, those were my thoughts on Far Cry New Dawn and how I think it fell short. What do you think? Do you hope the Far Cry franchise introduces more RPG elements, or do you prefer it remains as it is? What did you think of Far Cry New Dawn? And do you hope to see more post-apocalyptic first-person RPGs? Let me know. Also, please let me know what you thought of the video. If you enjoyed, please like, comment, and subscribe, and if you didn't, please let me know with a constructive comment below. I plan on releasing more gaming-related videos in the future, so all constructive criticism is greatly appreciated as it only helps. Thank you, and peace.